Hello, it is 11 o'clock. It is the 16th day of the month. I am your grumpy guide to all things gaming, the OGGM. It is time for another OGGM adventure. And after all that depressing game ending crap, I thought we'd get back to a little bit more creativity and discuss our favorite topic. Well, one of our favorite topics, dungeon building. Never enough talk about dungeon building and adventure design because it's the one thing, well, one of the many things 5e fails at is actually telling you how to build an adventure, build a dungeon, run an adventure, run at a dungeon. They give you products like Strahd and Tomb Violation, but they don't actually tell you how to run them or design them. How do you build a dungeon? What is a dungeon? What the fuck is a dungeon? The actual definition of dungeon, and I'm not talking about the kinky, sexy stuff, a strong underground prison cell, especially in a castle, oubliette, cell, prison, jail, lockup, black hole, imprison someone in a dungeon. Origins, Middle English, castle, keep. So, a dungeon was jail. Somebody did something that the person in charge didn't like. Whatever, could be, broke the law or just pissed him off. I mean, kings could do all sorts of weird shit. Put that guy in the dungeon. I don't like the way he looks. Kind of shit. So, and you put him away. That was it. And then maybe they got out. Maybe they didn't. There might have been a couple guards, but usually the main deterrent was the fact that it was hard to get to and hard to get out of, and they didn't really feed you or take care of you, and it was dark, and you probably just died from dysentery and starvation. So, this idea of a trap-filled giant place filled with stuff and treasure probably comes more from Egyptian pyramids, and burial mounds and burial tombs that we've dug up, more than just the idea of a prison and a castle. Because a bunch of adventurers going to explore a prison and a castle, unless it's a prison break scenario, isn't very exciting. I mean, other than maybe fighting a couple guards and maybe a guard dog or two. Yeah, okay, that was it. It was 3 doors, a set of stairs, and we took a key off that guy who was asleep, and now you're free, Steve. Hey, thank you. What's our reward? This stick? I mean, that's just, yeah. So the exciting, swashbuckling, trap-defying, puzzle-solving, monster-killing, oh, look at this pile of treasure at the end. Where does that come from? I mean, it's integrated through all fantasy and stories and, everything. I mean, even the Death Star is a dungeon, but, I mean, how do we get from jail, which isn't very exciting, to Tomb of Horrors and White Plume Mountain? Well, probably pyramids. And the idea that cultures existed that buried wealth with their dead. And then, of course, there were grave robbers because, I'm a guy and I just see that you're taking some dead dude and burying him in the ground with a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, I could use that stuff and no one's going to know. So that's how tomb robbing probably started, just opportunity. And then it sort of just got a little bit more organized as more and more individuals are like, hey, they just buried that guy with a bunch of stuff. Let's go get it. And then, of course, the people building the places are like, hey, they're going in and stealing the stuff we just buried that guy in. We should probably, the next time, something to deter them. So they would, build a few simple traps, maybe a pit. They would place some guard animals. But the main thing they would do was word of mouth. They would start spreading these tales that if you go rob that tomb, you'll be cursed. If you go rob that barrow mound, the spirit of the guy we buried will haunt you. And superstition and imagination is way more powerful than, just building a pit trap. Because that idea insidiously got into people's head, and then that guy would go tell that guy, and then that guy would tell that time. And by the time it got back to the tomb raiders who were about to go rob the tomb, they're like, wait a minute. If I go in, I'm going to be cursed and my family's going to be cursed, and then blah, blah, blah. It's not worth it. I could just get it. Yeah. So that's probably how our idea of dungeons started. It went somewhere from the boring, that's jail, to let's build a thing to honor our dead person, and we'll bury him with stuff because our current faith, religion, whatever, believes that if you die with your stuff, it goes with you to the next life. To, hey, we're gonna rob that guy because we just saw them bury him with a bunch of stuff. To, well, we better do something so the next time this doesn't happen. To, hey, White Plume Mountain, Tomb of Horrors, stuff like that. So that's probably where we get that collective unconscious idea of our current D&D dungeon idea that, somebody built a thing. And for some reason, that somebody filled it with monsters, treasures, traps, puzzles, and then a bunch of adventurers found it. But going further into this thought experiment, really, building a dungeon makes no sense. I mean, think about it. You have built this huge trap-filled labyrinth with monsters and things. Now, think about you. 3 o'clock in the morning, you have to get up and go to the bathroom, and it's dark, and you're trying to work your way through your house, and you inevitably stub your toe, or step on a Lego, or something, bang your head, and that's 10 feet from wherever you are to your bathroom. Now imagine the same situation, and you're the guy, and you just built this vast trap-filled labyrinth, and you're like, oh, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I gotta go to room 56 to get a bottle of bat propellant. And I'm walking through these dark hallways, and whoops, I forgot there was a trap there, and I just killed myself. And then you get the scene from Indiana Jones with the guy in the pit because he was... It makes no sense. Why would you build that? First off, why build that when plenty of things are already available to you? I mean, there's mines, there's caves, there's castles, there's ruins. There's no really reason to build this death trap-filled thing that's a lot of work and a lot of money, when chances are I could just go into these caves and put a wooden door here and pretty much the same thing. I could just get a bunch of slaves to build a simple little burial mound. I mean, so... we get to the idea, well, he needed to build a place to experiment and put his experiments. Yeah, okay, but are you really going to put your experiments that close to you when they might turn against you? No, you're probably going to put them in a different building, kind of like we do in real life. We conduct all our experiments in a lab, but we don't live in that lab. When we're done experimenting, we leave the lab, we lock it up, and we go someplace else. And then we come back the next day. So really, no one would really live in their lab. They would leave the lab and go someplace else. That way, when the monkeys escape, oh, well, I didn't get killed by the monkeys. Sure, George the Guard got killed by the monkeys. Big deal. It's George the Guard. So again, dungeons doesn't make sense unless we look at them for what they are. And that is, I built this because either I'm fucking insane, or B, because I could. And that's probably really the reason why most of the dungeons that we encounter in our adventuring careers are built. It's because the guy could, and he wanted to see what he could do. And then he's like, well, I built this. How do I make sure it works? I know. I'll start spreading tales about it. Some adventurers will come in, and they'll see if it works or not. Oh, well, that didn't work. I better fix that and make something better. I mean, Tomb of Horrors is basically filled with a bunch of things where Akarek went, how do I make sure this works? I mean, is somebody really going to stick their head in that sphere of annihilation I put in that green demon at the end of the hallway? I mean, is anybody really going to be that dumb? Only one way to find out. I'll start spreading rumors and see if somebody comes in and actually sticks to... What do you know? That guy stuck his head in it. I didn't think it was going to happen, but he did. Hey, Charlie. So, yeah. Dungeons make no sense when you think about them from a logical, industrial, architectural, time frame, money investment. Why would I build this? so many other things I could do that are way easier, take way less time with Telex energy, way less likely to explode in my face. But I could do it. And if I could do it, and I got nothing else to do, maybe I should do it. Because, well, no one's else done it. And what can I do that the other guys have done that's better and different? Now that I've built this, how do I make sure it works? Because I've spent all this time building it, I kind of want to know if it works. I should start spreading rumors about this trap monster puzzle-filled place. And then people will come in and they'll be like, oh, it was his labs and he was experimenting on things and you better go in and stop the experiments. And really what I want to do is see if they will actually stick their head in that sphere of annihilation I put in that green devil at the end of the hallway. This is my lab? I wouldn't live here. I'd live over there, as far away from my lab as possible. So when something bad happens to my lab, I'm not there. And as long as you're going to build a dungeon and test to see what it's going to do, you might as well go all out. You might as well get as ridiculous as you can. You might as well build a funhouse dungeon. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at funhouse dungeons, and we're going to look at building a dungeon, what really makes a dungeon exciting, and in the next couple episodes, we are going to try and build a funhouse dungeon that makes sense from the point of view of the crazy wizard or whatever who built it, because he built it to see if it would work. Because when you look at White Plume Mountain, you're like, there's a log flume ride. Why would he put this there? Because I could. Because no one else had done it, and I wanted to see if it would work. So there you go. If this topic interests you and you want to continue this chain of thought experiments, please comment down below. And if you don't want to hear me talk about dungeon building and build a dungeon, comment down below, because I don't know what you want if you don't tell me. And if you want to help me build my own dungeon in here, because I'd like to see a log flume ride in my apartment, why don't you maybe, take a moment and consider supporting me. It only takes like 20 seconds, a quarter even, makes a difference. So thank you very much. I will talk to you